Alright, Abdul, let's take a look at your essay. So, starting with the introduction, it is okay, and there's a few different things that we need to talk about here. So, the hook you have is pretty good because you set up the claim, but you do it in a particular way that you are relating it for the reader to see this is my position and this is what it's related to. And it's the part of what it's related to that is key. Because if you had just started by saying mercy killing is not ethical, then that's not really a hook. But because you say if killing someone is considered a sin or a crime, then mercy killings are no different. A few grammar things I'm noticing here. This is a contraction where you have the apostrophe s when you have two words into one. That is a contraction. You need to get rid of the contraction. Uh, you do technically need a comma between crime and then. And then this is the part that you need to clarify. Mercy killings are no different. It's still killing someone either nicely or brutally. So that's a pretty good part right there. But you would need to add something like a colon or end the sentence and say mercy killing is still killing someone. Because right here, this isn't a full sentence because you have some awkward grammar things going on here. So make sure you are splitting that up. And then you define mercy killing, which is good and say, for example, it's here in Mice and Men, which is fine. The one thing you have wrong, he was going to die anyways, either by George or by Curly. There is no evidence, I'm going to tell you right now, no evidence in the novel that supports that he was going to die because of George anyways. And then, this is the thing I'm noticing. You start a couple of sentences with the word and if we look at, give me 1 second. If we look at coordinating conjunctions, I'm pulling it up. I just want to point this out. You have some coordinating conjunctions, fanboys, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, or so. This is to join two independent clauses to complete sentences, so you can't start a sentence with and, so be aware of that. And then if we look at the end, and then you got some spacing issue I'm noticing for the format. I know I'm not critiquing on MLA format, but the spacing is an issue for any paper that needs to be addressed. And then at the end, where your thesis needs to be, although some may consider mercy killings ethical, because this right here is what we call a subordinating conjunction, it ties two clauses together. You do not need the word but, because you cannot have two conjunctions in the sentence to combine clauses. Okay? So although some may consider mercy killings ethical, it is not acceptable because it not only violates many religions, but also is against the law. This is where you would use a comma before but. The reason you don't use it in the first part is because the conjunctions combine two independent clauses. So this itself, if you get rid of the first but, is all an independent clause. So be aware. And then instead of saying and, additionally, it can help. I'm not sure what you're referring to here. What can help develop new medicine and encourage many to live longer and not to commit any crimes? I'm not sure exactly what you're saying here with who's developing this. And the other thing I will say is the purpose of your paper, is to figure out whether or not this is ethical. So saying that, oh, well, don't do this because you're committing a crime doesn't really answer the question that you're responding to. Because the question that you're answering is not, well, if I follow the law, this is ethical, and if I don't follow it, it's not ethical. Because there's actually a quote, I believe in the Kevorkian article that talks about you shouldn't follow unjust laws. So just something to consider about. You're not answering that this is not ethical because it's against the law. In most places, you're answering in general if you think it's ethical. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I want to go through your next body paragraph. Let me pause this real quick. And I highlighted some things I want to talk about. I won't do this every time and I don't do it with every paper, but all the things I highlighted and underlined I want to talk about. So, killing because you love someone and feels bad. This should be feel instead of feels. And feel bad for them is not ethical because it violates blah blah blah. So that's fine. This is actually a pretty good topic sentence. And then you continue it, but this is the problem I have. So I went through this sentence, which I am considering a run-on, And I kept asking myself, well, Janet Adkins isn't necessary, so you technically need commas here. And then I was asking if you needed some commas somewhere else. But the point is, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you have 5 commas in the sentence, which is kind of a lot for one sentence that doesn't have any major grammar rules. So what I would suggest is putting this into 2 different sentences, because there were a few times where I'm looking at this and trying to figure out which commas go where, and because I kept asking that, it's usually an indication you have a run-on sentence, so be aware of that. So, and the other thing is, let's look at this clause here, because it is against the law to help end someone's life and is against many religious beliefs. So I understand you're taking the position of religion in here, but the problem is that it has nothing to do with the law. It's because you're kind of insinuating he's arrested because it's against religious beliefs, but on a technical basis, laws are not influenced by religion because we have a separation of church and state, so that does not work in that context there. So be mindful of that. And then once again, we have starting a sentence with an and. Right here we have the wrong then. This is a homophone error. You're using the wrong then. And then this is, before I get to these two, let me talk about this one. I don't know why you have mercy killing in quotation marks, because you do not need to put that in quotation marks. You can just say mercy killings and it's fine. So be mindful of that. And then here's the hypothetical part that I'm noticing quite a few people do, and it's not working. Feel sorry for them, would also kill them, and then mercy killing is not ethical due to many beliefs and laws, and can possibly get higher rates. Can possibly get higher rates sounds a little bit awkward. So what you could say if you were taking this track is say, not ethical due to many beliefs and laws, and especially because you're looking at the legalization, and if legalized will result in more deaths. Now here's my problem with these two. This is strictly hypothetical, and you have no evidence to back this up. There are some things in the article that talks about laws and what it will result in, but you're just kind of saying this with no basis. Well, if we do this, then everyone's just going to die, which you can't quite do. You have to be mindful of how you are doing this, and this is strictly hypothetical. You need evidence to derive your paper, and this isn't evidence. This is just hypothetical and what you think will happen if it's legalized. Alright, so with the next body paragraph, it looks like this is a little bit better than the previous one. Topic sentence is okay. You have a wrong word here. You have a homophone. This should be it is. You have it says is possessive, so that's not correct. What happened there? And then here, when Kevorkian helped about 130 alien patients and their lives, he recorded everything. And this is what I have to think about. Publish most of it, which can encourage many people to shoot those who they feel sorry for, even though they want to live. I was almost okay with this analysis, but it's hypothetical, especially because you're saying he's encouraging people to shoot those they feel sorry for. The Kevorkian article does talk about his publishing, but that is also for the medical community. So it's not like doctors are shooting patients. They're giving them some kind of injection and some kind of lethal medication that is painless. So that's what I need you to consider. It's not that doctors are shooting them or whatever. It's they're giving some kind of medication. Then we have the other and, so conjunctions are a big concern I have already. But you do talk a little bit about the medical component of it and how people can get treatment. My only thing is, here we go. Doctors develop a medicine for a disease, like how many try to convince or argue Dr. Jack Kevorkian that instead of helping all of those people to end their life, he could have just, okay, I'm going to stop reading. This is a run-on. You need to fix it. That is a run-on sentence. And okay, if you get exhausted reading a sentence, oftentimes it's because it's lacking a comma, but especially when you lack those commas, it becomes a run-on, and this is just too much. So, you are right. So people do argue that Kevorkian could have given medication to help patients, and there are components in your essay. Sorry, not your essay. The articles that talks about the medicinal standpoint of this, which is fine. And then when you end the paragraph, with that being said, mercy killing is not ethical because instead of dying, you can help many people and make useful things with the time left. I would get rid of this because you don't really touch on that in the paragraph, but the rest of it is okay because you're talking about we can help people. I don't know if I like you can help people. Maybe sustain their life and free them of pain might work, but again, use the article to drive your evidence with that. And then moving on. Okay, so moving on to your last body paragraph. This one's probably your roughest body paragraph. So others believe that killing someone because of their suffering due to many blah 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 shows it to be ethical. Instead of because, get rid of that. You're using a lot of conjunctions and a lot of different words to start your sentence, so be aware of that because that's something I am noticing. It not only hurts those, which is fine. That would be fine if you get rid of that. Get rid of the and. This, well, actually, let me go back to this. I have no idea what you mean. Mercy killing can help make some space in prisons. The way this is worded says mercy killing will, I guess I'm not sure. I'm not sure if you're saying it will free up space or put more people into prison. So be aware of how that is worded because I'm not sure what angle you're taking there. And then as we go on, however, anytime you use however in the beginning, you need a comma. And you say it's not ethical because suffering physically does not mean this person is suffering mentally. That is true. So those are not mutually exclusive. Wait. Let me rephrase it. You are saying they are mutually exclusive, meaning if you're in physical pain, you're not in mental pain. This is what I want to challenge you on. I understand where you're coming from with this, but when the article mentions diseases like Alzheimer's, that does affect you mentally. So just something to think about to reword this. Maybe say because suffering physically does not always mean that the person is suffering mentally. And you say they shouldn't have the option. And that's fine. But again, I'm stopped here. Oh, not there. Where was it? Because like mentioned before, it's still considered a crime no matter the way you do it. So that's part of the concern that you're trying to answer is it right that it is illegal? And if you think it is, that's fine. But you need to expand your horizons beyond, well, it's illegal, so that means it's not ethical. And this is not a good example, but racism and slavery was legalized for a very, very long time. And like the article said, and I told you before, Kevorkian talks about challenging. And that's not me pushing you to believe one way. That's me saying you need to get out of your space of saying it is legal or it is not legal, and that's what's driving your essay. You need to get away from that and focus on evidence that relates specifically to mercy killing, not necessarily mercy killing in the law. All right, so a lot of the same grammar things I'm talking about, with your paper, I'm seeing again. And then here we have a random comma you don't need. So violating the law in many religious beliefs and developing new medicine and encouraging others to live life to the fullest all show that mercy killings are unethical even though some people are for them. That's an okay way to start your conclusion, which is fine. It's a little bit long, but it's fine. But once you fix up those grammar concerns I talked about, I think the paper will be a little bit better. So overall for grammar, what I'm noticing with yours is some word choice and run-on concerns, conjunctions, homophones, and commas. Your body paragraphs are okay. You need more evidence from the articles to drive your analysis and what you're doing. And your intro is okay as well. So hopefully with what I've talked about and looking at the word order, this will make a little bit more sense to you as we move forward.